This is Keisha Bobby, and I am bringing you your Friday Fire. Today, I want to take you to Luke 11 and 1, and I want to read this verse to you. It says, "And it came to pass that as he was praying in a certain place, when he ceased, one of his disciples said unto him, Lord, teach us to pray." Teach us to pray. And this morning, that's what I want to just talk to you about for just a couple of moments. Teach us to pray. I believe every one of us watching this, we pray, we talk to God often, but I think that this morning the Lord wants us to take a shift in how we approach him with our prayers. The first thing is, what if we pray less about what we want and more about his will? So often we look at our lives with a very limited scope and a very limited perspective. And we see what we want right now. We see what's bothering us right now. We see what's uncomfortable. We see what we consider to be critical right now. But God sees the big picture because he wrote the end of the thing from the beginning. So what about if we pray less about what we want and more about what he wills? What if we pray less about our circumstances and more about our perspective? Because here's the thing. There are lots of circumstances in our life that we may not be able to control. There's some things that we can, but what if we ask God during our prayer time to shift our perspective on how we see our circumstances, for him to give us insight and to give us a God view and to help us to discover how we can rise above those circumstances and give him glory? What if we prayed less about our comfort and what's convenient and more about what he was aiming to do? What if we pray less about our conditions and more about our character? Because I believe conditions locate us. They tell us where we really are when it comes to our faith. I believe conditions locate us when it comes to our mouth. When life squeezes you, what comes out? I believe conditions locate us when it comes to really trusting God. Because it's one thing to trust God when you got a bank account full of money. It's another thing when you got brackets. Do you still trust him? It's another thing to trust him for your healing when you're walking around and everything's fine. But what about when you get a negative doctor's report? Do you still trust him? So maybe it shouldn't be so much about our conditions, but our character, about our faith, about our endurance, about who we are on this journey. What if we pray less about our obstacles and more about the opportunities that are tucked away on the inside of them? Because the reality is most opportunities are nothing more than showing up in our life with a box of obstacles. The things that we pray for is, Lord, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to face this. Just what if that thing that you're praying to avoid is the thing that God needs you to walk into courageously? And to walk through that fire and not even smell like smoke? What if this is a refining for you? What if it's a character builder for you? What if it's building up your faith muscles so that when you get to that next season that you are equipped? I think about David. His first fight wasn't Goliath. He had to deal with the lions. He had to deal with the bears. They were target practice for him. So instead of spending all your time praying about what you want to avoid, why not pray about what we need to accept, what we need to embrace, what we need to expect as we're walking through these things? So as I thought about that verse this morning, Lord, teach us to pray. We say, yeah, we pray, but are we praying prayers in faith? Are we directing God to do what we want him to do instead of us aligning with what he's already doing? So today I'm asking that as we're praying, as we are walking into this weekend, for God to just open up our eyes, for us to see as he sees, to open up our ears for us to hear as he hears, and for our hearts to be open so that we can receive that which he's already purchased for us. So today I want us to be challenged in our prayers. Let's stop praying wish I wanna, coulda, if I shoulda prayers, and let's start saying, God, thy will be done. Lord, why, instead of saying, why me, say, why not me? God, I thank you for choosing me to show off your goodness and your mercy. God, equip me for the battle that I'm facing today. Equip me for the obstacles that are coming at me. God, don't help me run from the attacks of the enemy, but help me to stand strong, rock solid in who you are and who I am in you. So today our prayers shouldn't be wimpy prayers. They should be courageous prayers, bold prayers that say, God, I trust you. I'm not trying to look for comfort here. I want to look for Christ. Wherever Christ is where I want to be. Whatever Christ is calling me to do, is that what I want to do? Whatever Christ is calling up out of me, I let it go. So today our prayer should be bold, courageous. We want to talk about a war room, but you don't go into a war room and sit down. You go into a war room and stand up. You stand up and you proclaim. You get dressed for battle. Why? Because when you go out, you know life is nothing more than a battlefield. And you need to be prayed up. You need to be prepared up. You need to be dressed. So I'm challenging you today. In your prayer time, stop trying to avoid pain. Face it head on. Stop avoiding fears, because right in the middle of your fear is some of the greatest adventures of a lifetime. I read through the Bible, and every one of those jokers who did great things had to face fear head on. It's no different for you. Face the fear and feel it anyway, as Joyce Meyer says, and just do it afraid. So stop praying to avoid it, but accept it, adjust to it, grow in it, and become all that God has called you to be for such a time as this in this season. So what am I saying to you? Be bold, be courageous. Pray those prayers that if God doesn't intercede, it's not going to happen. If God don't do it, it's not going to happen. Pray prayers that are depending more on Him and less on you. So you have an amazing weekend, and I will see you on next Friday. On next Thursday, the 15th, we have our Sister to Sister event. That's going to be posted on the page. And also next weekend, we have our Beauty from Ashes event, which I'm excited about. So those of you who are joining me, get ready, get ready, get ready. It's going to be a life-changing time. So have an amazing weekend.